Hi everyone. I listened to the Wbez segment Out of the Shadows, Trading the Couch for the Curandero, which talked about the differences in how minority groups such as Latinos and Native Americans perceive and treat mental health conditions. I thought it was interesting, particularly in the context of some of the other readings that we've had in this course about disproportionality and cultural competency and how that can impact a students' educational experience. I think that traditional Western medicine emphasizes practices that are grounded in scientific research. And in the radio interview, Michael Kelly, the professor of social work at Loyola, mentions that many ethnic groups don't seek out what Western medicine would define as mental health services. And he also discussed how the traditional psychological language can really act as a barrier to many of these minority groups. He explains how he really had to learn this cultural framework before he could even make a connection and be able to provide or help the family to get any type of assistance. The radio piece also explains how minority groups such as Latinos often reject mainstream treatments for mental health issues, and instead they rely on traditional methods that are rooted in their own cultures. They discussed the use of curanderos, or these spiritual healers, as well as frequently turning to church and prayer, as well as homeopathic remedies to treat a wide range of problems. And in addition to the deeply set cultural traditions of the minority groups, the piece talked about several other barriers to mainstream treatments for mental health issues. It discussed a cultural stigma that exists, as well as a lack of education and a general lack of resources. There's not a lot of Spanish language information available, and there really aren't many culturally competent medical professionals that are available to even provide the services that they might need. The difference between how Western medicine conceptualizes mental health conditions and non-Western culture can have implications for the services of EBD students from culturally and linguistically diverse backgrounds. Since mental health can impact how individuals relate to each other and how we benefit from and contribute to society, it really is intertwined with our overall quality of life. And this piece sort of brought to light that there are likely many students with EBD who have mental health needs that aren't being met, and this could potentially put them at risk for becoming overrepresented in other groups within society. I was thinking about possible correlations between, really almost certain correlations between unmet mental health needs and crime or poverty, and just how this could impact them further down the road even. The piece mentioned that 15% of Latino youth in the U.S. have considered attempting suicide compared to 13% of Black and white youth. So in general, the way that these individuals function in and contribute to society would be impacted by a lack of treatment. To go back to the radio piece for Michael Kelly, it was really necessary for him to integrate his practice with the traditions of the family. And by asking the curandero to counsel the mother, the information was presented to her in a way that she could relate to. I think that it's really clear at this point that as educators, we cannot look at home and school as exclusive of each other. Each of these environments impact the other, so it becomes really critical that we have an understanding of students' diverse backgrounds, because it's going to impact their school life, and it's also important to find ways to engage the families with the school. I really thought that the piece was further evidence of how important it is to be culturally competent, and how that's a component in providing appropriate services. Without it, we just contribute to this growing disconnect between the individual in need of services and those providing the services. So I hope my response made sense, and I look forward to being tagged. Thanks.